What is going on, Elevation Nation? Today is a special day because we have a special person joining Elevation Nation. We have a friend, a cousin, and a incredible new elevator, Jessie Yaffe. I forgot, also big Goose fan. I need to put that in there too. Jessie Yaffe joining Elevation Nation, and Sam and I couldn't be more excited to welcome her and get into an amazing and fruitful conversation with her. Jessie, what's going on? Welcome to Elevation Nation. We're excited to have you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Super excited to be here. And yes, big Goose fan. You had it right. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
This is bad. Now that we know you're a Goose fan, this is just going to turn into a Goose podcast because
oh my gosh,
certainly Parker could go on for hours, but I'll refrain to the best of my abilities. We are so excited, Jessie, to have you on the pod and more importantly, welcome you to Elevation Nation. And before we get started, obviously, Parker and I know all about you and what you're up to. But for all the elevators out there listening, can we have a little elevator pitch on who you are and what you're doing in the world?
Yes, so I am Jessie. I'm a holistic health coach here in New York City, and I meet with clients one-on-one and do group coaching as well, just to help people feel more connected to themselves and more in touch with their emotions. And I can work on all different kinds of transformations, both mentally, physically, and yeah, I just love watching people learn and grow and just connect to themselves. So.
And what I love, too, about what you're doing, Jessie, is you're sharing your journey, like, very vulnerably and open on social media. I mean, TikTok, how many videos are you posting, like, a week now compared to what it was?
My goal is 7 a week, but we don't always hit that.
Okay, 7. Is there any week where you're like, oh, I'm feeling good, I'm posting 10, 15, 20?
Honestly, yeah. It comes to me pretty naturally. Like, if there's an idea and I am in the moment and ready to record it, like, I will push that content out as soon as I can. But, yeah, it kind of just depends what comes up for me. But it's all pretty much in real time. In
real time? Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever comes to the mind, you're like, wow, this is a great idea. That's kind of how I do my LinkedIn stuff as well. Sam likes to prep.
I'm type A.
I
have articles written out for the next 3 months on LinkedIn, but that's okay. We all work differently.
Yes, exactly.
So, Jessie, you say you're a holistic wellness coach.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit more about, like, what that means to you. Mm-hmm. And was that always the place and the thing that you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. I would say I have not always had a holistic approach to my own life. Actually, 7 years ago, my older sister was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer that just completely altered my entire family's life, both in so many ways, but first being exactly what we were eating, how we were exercising, our mental health, just like all these different things that we didn't really realize were so important in how we felt about ourselves. And so I think that diagnosis just really shifted my entire family's perspective on what it means to be healthy. And so then from that point on, I just learned so much about different approaches to healing and how someone can use emotional healing to treat a physical symptom, or how you can use lifestyle, mindfulness, breathwork practices to heal something that seems so physical. And so that's been just super interesting for me to learn about over the last couple of years and take into my life now. And so that's what I like to share with my clients and people that I'm working with, is just how can you take a physical symptom if someone comes to me with a gut issue or bloating or something like that, and what kind of emotional, deep-rooted trauma can we get to the bottom of that could actually be contributing to that symptom. So anyways, kind of a tangent, but I would say I have not always had this holistic approach to health, and it looks different for different clients, but yeah, it's kind of exciting that not everyone's the same, and there's always something different I can add to people's transformations.
So, Jessie, I want to ask you, Parker and I are definitely believers in holistic health, and that energy and spirituality, our physical health, what we put into our bodies, what we think, is all interconnected. but it's a very complex topic that I maybe know 1% about, and I've read multiple books and watched videos. How do you even go about educating yourself, especially you at such a young age, on a complex topic that many people probably are still very skeptical on?
I would say for me, it kind of fell into my lap because of life experience. I would say a lot of the people that I know who have been on spiritual journeys, it typically comes from some form of life experience, whether that's grief or a personal health journey, something like that, that kind of leads them to wanting to find answers. I think that's typically what sends people down that path. But in terms of strengthening that curiosity, I would say I listen to a lot of podcasts, also read books, and I think just find a couple of spiritual leaders that I just really enjoy their content, and I tend to listen for hours, take notes, and just kind of consume and learn as much as I can. I think after graduating college, I was trying to fill this need of wanting to continue learning, and I think I've found that through just listening to podcasts, educating myself on my own on what I'm actually passionate about.
I mean, I feel like there's so many different places to go and learn about these types of things, whether it be, to your point about just scrolling on TikTok. You could come across someone you've never met in your entire life, and they're talking about holistic health. And it's like, oh, wait, does this make sense? Is this real? Is this, will it work? Do you ever find that you're questioning a lot of like what you read and what... Okay, and so like, I guess to add to Sam's point is like, how do you like know what's going to be working for you, what would work for your clients, what might work for a lot of other people?
Yeah, I think for me, I take everyone's advice and recommendations with a grain of salt. I think first I apply it to myself and see if it's something that works for me. And everything that I do with my clients is something that I've tried on myself. So I'm not blindly recommending anything that I don't know anything about. So I think that definitely helps, is just testing it out on myself. And also I think when it comes to spirituality and holistic health in general, everyone's going to have a different reaction or feeling about certain things, and I think that's just important to note that what works for some people doesn't work for others. And I think as long as you have an open mind and you're curious, but you're also still kind of hesitant and just smart about like not just blindly accepting all of this information, I think you just kind of have to test and see what works for you.
It's certainly tough learning just a new topic, right? In anything that you're doing, but then to try to teach and coach other people is a whole different ballgame, because then you have to practice what you preach. And I think even for Parker and myself, right, with Elevation Nation and the podcast and how we speak around the country, we kind of have to put our money where our mouth is a little bit. We can't just say, yeah, you have to elevate your mindset and be the best version of yourself, and we're sitting on the couch doing nothing every day. Parker's run multiple marathons. As Parker likes to say, I now get punched in the face every morning by boxing, right? There are different ways that we can go outside our comfort zone, and we do really have to practice what we preach. And so I think it's really incredible that you are taking in all this information, almost being a filter for yourself and clients, figuring out what works for you and what doesn't, and then being able to pass on that information to other people. So I love that approach. I think that is spot on. I want to ask you, is there a trend within holistic wellness, right? It's a really big topic that you're really just like diving into a ton right now and trying to learn a lot on?
I would say yes, probably internal family systems, which is this kind of therapeutic approach that I've used with my own therapist, so I know it's been really helpful for me, and I actually use it with a lot of my clients too, and I've educated myself on it, and it was also a part of the course that I had to take to become a holistic health coach. But it's basically when we as humans have all of these parts within us, whether it's a people-pleasing part, a perfectionist part, a protector part, all of these different parts that have come about through life experience, through trauma, through all of these different things that have happened to us in our past. And with each of those parts, there's a certain relationship that we have with them, and they come up during certain triggers or certain times, or that it's it's kind of just interesting to track when you know exactly what part is coming up at a certain situation. So one of the things that I do in my coaching is I help people recognize the parts that exist within themselves and then help them form a dialogue with those parts. So for example, if your perfectionist part is coming up, how do you kind of speak to that part with more compassion and kindness to develop a healthier relationship with it instead of hating yourself for having this perfectionist tendency? It's more like working and understanding with it. So I've just found that this approach has helped people in all aspects of their life, just being more compassionate and loving towards themselves, which then also helps them feel the same way towards other people. And it's just super fascinating. I love overanalyzing myself, so I think it's like perfect for me.
You and me both. I live in my own brain, as Parker knows. So that's why we have a podcast to talk about it.
Yeah.
Jessie, remind me, how old are you again?
22.
22. I mean, I'm sitting here, and the way you talk about this, you're so eloquent in how you talk about it, and you could see your passion come through the microphone. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, you could see it in your face and how you talk about it. But like the way you structure even your thinking and your thoughts about, I'm just like, wow, like very proud. But then
proud
also,
cousin moment, Parker.
Yeah, very proud, but then also like, just, I don't know, very inspired. And that leads me to my next part of the conversation, inspiration. And, I look at, we obviously keep in contact. We text, we sometimes talk to each other over on the phone, but you're always posting on social media. And on Instagram in particular, you have your bio as finding purpose and healing. Mm-hmm. And as someone who is going through my own grief journey with what has transpired in our lives, I'll say our lives, over the last many years, I feel very connected to that because I feel like I'm finding purpose and healing. And I look to you as someone who I'm so in awe of because I watch your videos, I connect with you in that way, and I'm just like hearing how vulnerable and open you are in sharing that. So I want to ask you a first question and then a follow-up to that, but I'll ask that after.
Okay.
How do you have the mental fortitude within you to share those thoughts publicly and how you're feeling and being so open?
I think for me, I have found that the more vulnerable and open I am, the more vulnerability and openness I receive from other people. And I think especially in a world now where everyone is so isolated and we're all working remotely and on our computers, and it's so important to have those vulnerable relationships with other people. And I've also found that through my openness and sharing on social media, I've been connected to so many other people who have been through similar things. And I think that's incredibly healing both for me and those people. So whether it's other siblings who have also grieved someone with cancer or something like that, that I think it's just really helped to create a community. And that just inspires me to keep posting, to keep being vulnerable, because if I can help other people going through what I experienced as well, then that's incredibly fulfilling and rewarding. And it also makes me feel as though my purpose for being here on this earth is being fulfilled if I can help connect with other people and help them go navigate and go through whatever is coming up for them. So.
And you talked a little bit about this purpose and tying it back, you mentioned, to Rachel, right? And she is elevator number 2, our second guest ever to come on the podcast and share her story and how she was approaching holistic health. And so I sit here right now, I know I'm not a cousin, but I'm also very proud of you because I just see you continuing her legacy, and she's so proud of you. And I want to talk a little bit about how that journey with your family, obviously Rachel started kind of exploring holistic health, but how you've taken that torch and now continued it for yourself. What does kind of honoring that legacy mean to you? Because you are certainly doing it right now, Jessie.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say I learned a ton from my sister over the last 7 years, and many of the recommendations that she received from doctors I adopted to my own life. So when they told her to go plant based, I went plant based too. When they told her to go gluten free, I was doing that too. And I think for a while I actually blindly accepted everything that she was recommended, and I was like, okay, I'm her younger sister, I'll help her out, I'll do it with her. When she was carnivore, I was eating 2 sausages and 3 eggs for breakfast every morning, and it was great. I have no regrets about that. I think it made her feel very supported. However, I think now over the last couple of months I've really learned what works for me and my working with my bio-individuality, and I think that there's something to be said for listening to other people's recommendations and learning, and then also just knowing what works best for you. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, and now I'm eating dairy and I'm eating gluten and I'm eating all of these things because I've been able to heal my gut and I've been able to regulate my nervous system, which I think is a totally another story too, with all the stress of living with someone who has a chronic illness and learning how to calm my mind and be in touch with my body so that I can learn to heal myself. And I mean, there's just so much that I've learned, but I think the most important thing is that everyone's going to be different, and what works for some people might not work for others.
It's a great point, and I'm sure you learned so much, not only through, applying a lot of what Rachel was doing in her life to you, but you probably learned a lot from Rachel herself as well. I know you did a lot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I want to ask you, is there any specific story that you always come to where Rachel was really educating you about holistic health and her approach, but like why it could be so much more important, not just in your life, Jessie, but so many others people's lives?
It's a good question. I would say, to be honest, me and my sister had a very silly relationship. There wasn't much like older sister guidance in the sense that she was like teaching me. I feel like we were more friends. And so honestly, the most important thing I learned from her is not to take life too seriously. I think, and that certainly applies to holistic health for sure, because I think that we become so rigid in these like routines and staying disciplined and eating a certain way and exercising a certain way, when in reality, like, there's so many emotional rooted things that can contribute to our health. And I think when we become too rigid and stressed out about how we're living, that actually creates more harm than good on our own bodies. And I think with my sister, just like learning to laugh and be silly was so important, and I think it helped her feel good emotionally, which then translated to her feeling better physically as well. So I think her mindset was probably the most important impact she had on me. I'm trying to think of a specific story. Actually, yeah, I have one. So when was it? February, she got admitted into the ICU in Baltimore for an emergency medical surgery. I was back at school in Madison, Wisconsin. I get a call from my mom, and she's like, you have to come home right now. Rachel's in the ICU. I hop on a flight. Luckily, my roommate comes with me, and I go straight to the hospital. I have no idea what's going to happen. So much uncertainty, fear, stress, all the emotions. And my sister miraculously recovers from this emergency surgery that we had absolutely no idea what was going to happen. And I just remember a couple days go by after the surgery. She's laying in the hospital bed, and she just has the most insane, unbelievable attitude about what just happened. She's like laughing and making a joke about the fact that she's like still alive and doing well, and I'm just like, what, how is she doing this? And then the memory I'm specifically thinking of is then she tricks the doctors into letting her come home, even though they wanted her to stay for an additional week. She's like, no, I'm totally fine. Like, she starts walking down the halls, and they're like, what is going on? And eventually, she tricks them into letting her go. On the way home, she plays Breaking Free from High School Musical, blasting it in the car. I'm sitting in the back, like, what? Literally, what is going on? I just flew home from school. My sister's in an ICU. And now we're singing Breaking Free in the car ride on the way home. And she's just, like, so happy to be out of there. And it was just one of those moments where I was in complete awe of her and her resilience and how she was able to handle that. And it just made me realize that even during the scariest, most uncertain times over the last couple of years, she was able to come out of it and show me that you can still laugh and sing and have fun. So yeah, that story sticks out to me for sure.
That's an incredible story, and like even to the finest detail, like breaking free, like
yes.
literally and metaphorically breaking free from whomever, the hospital, whatever. That's Rachel. That was her to the finest T. So eloquently smart in her ways, but so joyous in how she radiated herself on so many others every single day. And at Elevation Nation, when Sam and I wrote the playbook for what we would talk around the country about, what we would talk about on this podcast about, we wrote this whole thing back in 2020. And one of our foundations of what we believe at Elevation Nation is you need a board of inspirers. Mm-hmm. People, you hear about like board of mentors or like a board of directors at a company. Well, we call it board of inspirers. And, Sam has his and I have mine. And when we did that exercise and we built it out, I had Rachel as on my board of inspirers. Mm-hmm. And because I was always just so in awe of how someone who was told the worst news that anyone at such a young age could ever hear, mm-hmm. could live life with so much energy and positivity and joy and be ready to take it head on. Mm-hmm. And that was like what I always thought epitomized like mental fortitude in what we talk about at Elevation Nation. And so having Rachel on as our second guest, and you can go back to the episode, it's on Spotify, you have to go pretty far back, but it's there. You hear that. You hear her talk about those things, spinning the positive outlook. And that was consistent through her entire journey. And I mean, for you, Jessie, I'm sure to be able to spend all those incredible moments with her, like to see her resilience and mm-hmm. mental fortitude and how she continued to push and fight, but more importantly, do it with such positivity and light mm-hmm. is like one of the main reasons why Sam and I continue to do this, because people like Rachel. Mm-hmm. And I think just to have you sitting with us here and sharing that beautiful story with Elevation Nation about Rachel and about how that has impacted you is really beautiful, mm-hmm. And poetic in a sense, because now your elevator, like what, 210 or something, 212, I don't know, something like that. But now you're going to continue to take on the torch and inspire others through mm-hmm. energy of amazing positivity and joy. And like even talking with you, I'm just feeling so wholesome. Mm-hmm. And so just thank you for sharing that. And like, the conversation's not even over, but I wanted to definitely hit on that because the impact that Rachel and you will make on the world is absolutely tremendous.
Thank you. Yeah, I would also add to that and say that the energy she emitted definitely found its way back to her too. I think she often led with such positivity and light, and she always talked about an abundance mindset if you stalk her on TikTok. And I think that she really did attract that positive, same light energy back to her. And I think that's something that I've also carried with me, is that when you lead with that same positive, bright energy that she carried, it tends to come back to you. And I think that's just what it means to live an abundant life, is to put out that energy and then you'll get it back in return.
I love that mentality. I think it's incredible. And obviously you're doing just such a beautiful job honoring your sister. I want to switch gears here for a second, because I have a question for you. With all of the wisdom that Jessie has on holistic health, I have a question. So you're living in New York City, teaching holistic health.
Yeah.
Can you help me, someone who used to live in New York, who is thinking about maybe moving back but scared because it was so chaotic, so stressful, caused me a lot of anxiety in my gut, a place that seems to be not very healthy, right? It's like an urban jungle. How are you teaching holistic principles there, and how are you living a holistic life in such an urban place?
I think it's all about connecting to yourself. I think in a city with so many people, it's really easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing. You walk outside and you're immediately with like 2,000 people right there. And so I think for me, it all starts with setting my day up for success and checking in with myself. And I think that even in a very busy city that is constantly thriving off of the hustle culture and corporate life and all of that, I think for me it's just been so incredibly important to spend 2 minutes in the morning just breathing, checking in with myself, spending 15 minutes journaling, and just really finding time to take care of myself. Because then I find that when you have safety within yourself and you leave your door, your apartment door, then you feel safe, you feel calm, you feel regulated. But if you're waking up frantic and not checking in with yourself, you're immediately rushing to go run for an hour on the West Side Highway without slowing down to actually process what happened to you the day before, then you're going to get into that cycle that can be just tough to navigate, and then you might feel a little bit burnt out. So I think for me, it's just slowing down, taking the time to sit with yourself and your thoughts that will really set you up for success for the rest of the day. But
So like you're sitting with your thoughts, you're preparing, you're using that mindful minute or something along those lines. But like, what if the day you leave the door and the day is like not going well? Because now, days go great and then they don't go well. Like, what's like a thing that you do or you help your clients do when they're like having kind of like the freak out moment? Like, whoa, damn, like how can I approach this?
yeah, I think for me, it's getting to the root of finding compassion for yourself in those moments that seem frantic and you're constantly stressed. It's thinking about what is actually coming up for you, because I think it's easy to feel like it's all external and that, oh, I have all of these assignments or things that I have to do, these due dates that I have to get to. But realistically, like, what is this bringing up for you deep down? And I think when you get to the root of maybe this is a trigger that's reminding you of something that happened when you were 10 years old, like stuff like that's the areas that I like to explore with clients, is like getting to the root emotional issues behind some of these things. So when we're stressed about the day-to-day life, I think often it's a reflection of what could be going on internally, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think me living above a bar next to a bridge that trucks went over at 5 a.m. probably didn't help me having a place and a mindset to retreat back to. So that makes perfect sense. And I think it's really cool that you're finding ways in such an urban place to really center yourself and figure out who you are, what you want, and what drives you. And I think that's the core of what we think is most important in Elevation Nation, our concept of mental fortitude. And we think more and more young people need to spend time developing it. And Jessie, it's so obvious that you certainly are. You've spent time figuring out who you are at your core, what you want out of life, and what's driving you, this purpose and healing. And so to see you not only just do this on the side, but jump full into it and living your best life, like Parker said, we're really proud of you. And it's an incredible journey that you are on. So I want to learn a little more about holisticness from you before we move on. I know we were talking about a trend that you had in holistic wellness. That's, a good one. But for me, I'm learning a lot about energy right now and how there's energy everywhere. There's energy that we control, manifestation, the law of attraction, positivity. Is there something along those lines that you try to practice every single day that helps you get all your energies in the right place every morning? I know we said the mindful minute, but energy to me is so much more than just taking a second to breathe. It's deeper than that.
Yeah, 100%. There's a couple things. So I start off every morning with the mindful minute, as you said. I'll specifically place my hand over my heart and just breathe into myself. Sometimes I'll even give myself a hug, whatever you need to do. And then after that, I'll go into some journaling. And one thing that works for me is just saying 3 things you're grateful for. So a lot of people know practicing gratitude is important, but I genuinely think it helps you focus on the positive and all the good things around you. And then after that, I have a few different things that I've tried, but another thing that I do also is I like to high five myself in the mirror, which came from Mel Robbins, and I genuinely believe it plays such an impact on how you feel about yourself throughout the day, because at the end of the day, the relationship you have with yourself is the most important one. So if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and giving yourself a high five, then you know that your number one fan is right there with you the whole day. So I think that's another thing I really like to do. But in terms of manifestations and visualizations, I love doing those. I record manifestations and visualizations for my clients, and then they get to keep them throughout the week and work on them. And I'll also do some live versions as well during our sessions. So I think planning those out and then trying them on myself has been super, super helpful. And what that looks like to me is I can visualize a future version of myself in 10 years. What has she done? What has she accomplished? What would she say to me now? Things like that, which are all important, but I really think the most impactful way to manifest is to recognize the feeling that you have in that future version of yourself. So if I said I want to, let's say have a growing, booming business where I have tons of clients and feeling super confident in my entrepreneurial journey. But at the end of the day, that's not really going to help me actually manifest that. What's actually going to make a difference is seeing I'm feeling confident, I'm feeling proud, I'm feeling fulfilled and rewarded when I work with a client and notice their transformation. It's like those adjectives that help you embody those feelings, and then that's what ends up attracting those specific feelings into your life. So that's my perspective on manifestation, and I do believe that it works, and Rachel definitely backs me up on that too.
It's funny because Sam and I had a conversation earlier today about how, like, as a young person, the chase can always be about maybe like checking off certain things that you get as you grow, right? Like whether that be a new job or a promotion or a salary raise, or you obtain this thing that's like going to make you happy. But in reality, to your point about like, what's that feeling, right? That you want. And like when you feel it, observe it and write it down and say, I want more of that, right? Am I getting at it? Or
Yes. Yeah, that's totally right. I think because when you can recognize the feeling, then you're more likely to achieve the goal, because then you associate all of your decision making with that feeling. So let's say you want to feel proud and rewarded, then the future decisions you make to get to that goal then are like you're more likely to take action in ways that would make you feel fulfilled and rewarded and all of that. But it's definitely complicated, and I think there's so many different ways you can go about doing it, but I think for me what's worked the most is really just honing in on the specific feeling. So
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Trying to regulate our emotions and our feelings is so much easier said than done. And I know there's probably a ton of people out there listening to us being like, I could never. There's no way. I don't believe in that. That seems too hard. I get it. It's a slow journey. It's not like one day you can all of a sudden just be mindful and positive and manifest everything. But I think you can take steps to at least work on it or feel a little bit better about yourself. And as I told Parker, even if all this stuff is fake and it tricks your mind into working, then is it really fake? Like, it works. So I don't know. People always want like perfect science or backed proof. I think there are a lot of things that we're still learning about humans and energy and space and all this stuff. And so I'm in the camp of like, even if it can't be proven exactly to the degree that you want it proven, you can still try some things and see if it works for you. So
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, but at the same time too, Sam, to that, like, even proven science always has like false like
Very
implications too. So it's like, I always think people who don't believe in what they call woo-woo or hippie things, like, no, try it for yourself. See if
we
it
all
works.
like Goose. We're all hippies. It's fine.
No,
True.
like, you know what I mean? Just try it for yourself. You have to give it like the grace that it deserves, and you have to give yourself you have to buy into it for it to work. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna read a self-help book," and wake up one morning and say one good thing about it. Like, no, continuous practice is how you continue to grow in this regard. All right, Jessie. So before we move to rapid fire, which is a fun little section that we have, what's next for you with the community, with how you're approaching your business, life in general? Anything you want to uncover for us?
I would say right now, still working on getting more clients for health coaching. I am launching a new 7-day reset program that's going to have a workbook with specific journal prompts, and then each day will be accompanied by a recorded meditation. So it'll just be a very easy 7-day program to just help people check in, slow down, and sit with their thoughts. And each day will take less than 5 minutes. So I think it's going to be super easy and tangible for people to integrate into their lives. So yeah, that's the 7-day reset. Another thing I'm working on right now is starting this club called With Love Club. And it's similar to what I do in one-on-one health coaching, just more in a group setting. But it just helps to bring people together who are curious about mindfulness and actually hold them accountable to do it. Because there's so many people who are like, I want to try meditating or I want to journal, but then they don't actually do it. And my goal is to give people a specific time, a specific place, me leading them through it, so I take off all the heavy lifting and just guide you through it. And also just to create a community of people who are looking to better themselves and just, I don't know, create a good vibe with all these young people or old, doesn't matter, who are just looking to connect with themselves, connect with other people, and be held accountable to do so. So that's also in the works. I feel like there's kind of a lot going on. I always have random business ideas, but it just kind of flows very naturally. And whatever seems to be going well, I tend to follow down that path. But yeah.
Well, we're very excited to see all the new things that you have coming. And I'm even more proud to say that we are the first podcast that you went on, Jessie, so that when you are famous and even more successful than you already are, we get to say we were the first podcast for you, and that you were elevator number 209, I believe, is your number. So it's very exciting.
Thank you.
All right, I want to move us into our rapid fire because I just had a snack before this that I thought was healthy, and I'm ready for you to tell me, Sam, actually, that's not very good for you. I just ate a whole pack of the dried seaweed snacks. So one, I want to know if those are actually good for me or not, if you know that. And then two, what's your go-to snack right now?
Okay, good question. I would say it depends on the ingredients of the seaweed. I typically tend to avoid inflammatory oils, so like seed oils, or if there's any weird preservatives as well.
Oh, there definitely were. Oh, yeah.
Like any gums or citric acid or any
sure.
of that. And that's just because it disrupts my gut. So maybe for you, if you can easily digest that and you're not having a problem, then...
No, I always have stomach pain. I'm going to go get the package. We're going to dissect this. Keep going.
Okay, let's go for it. But yeah, I would say I tend to look at those ingredients that could just be harder to process. And then my go-to snack right now, I would say I'm gonna go with Greek yogurt bowls with chocolate chip, banana, and peanut butter because because I have recently gotten back into eating high quality dairy, and I just find it so exciting that now I can eat dairy and actually feel really good, and it doesn't leave me bloated. It's like a satiating snack, and it just hits the spot. It's like a little dessert bowl, but can have it in the middle of the day.
I've been having so many questions for dessert. I've been very healthy, very good, Sam.
Good for you, Parker.
0% non-fat Greek yogurt with strawberries and a little bit of chocolate. If I have it, usually we don't have it. Maybe some bananas in there, a little honey, or maybe even a little jam. Mix it all up. It's really good. Oh, now we have this like deliciousness snack. I don't even know what those are. Like little crisps. You know those?
Oh, I don't know those.
They're like, you could eat like 50 of them and it's like only 100 calories.
Interesting.
That sounds normal.
So I crush them up. No, they're like this whole thing now. Check them out. Seriously. They have all these different flavors. They're good. But yeah, I'm with the Greek yogurt. All right, next rapid fire.
Wait, I have my ingredients.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay.
I just want to know really quick. Organic
seaweed
from Costco.
Okay.
Organic seaweed. Organic sunflower oil. Sunflower oil, seed oil? Because I don't know.
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Damn. What about sesame oil? Is that bad too?
It's not ideal.
Damn
I
it.
think those oils
What about
are
avocado
better.
oil?
That one's okay.
That one's okay? Okay, yes.
Yeah. The worst ones are vegetable oil and canola oil, in my opinion. At least those feel the most harmful to me. But yeah, I would steer clear if possible.
Noted. All right. That's okay. I'll find a healthier snack. Thank you, Jessie. Go ahead, Parker.
You're welcome.
Do you use that app, Jessie? There's that app that you can like scan all the products and it tells you if it's good or not.
I don't use it only because I feel like the past 7 years have been training me to go around the grocery store and know myself. But I think for people who are learning and curious, it's definitely a good option. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I have it. I use it sometimes. It depends. Yucca.
Parker, didn't you read a good book on all this stuff recently?
I did. It was. Where is it? Oh my God, is it like not even here anymore? Good Energy. It's on there. It's really good. Casey Means.
Oh, I love Casey Means.
Yeah, she tells it how it is, and she helped me really reframe my entire perspective. Honestly, I learned a lot about omega-3s compared to omega-6s, which are very present in seed oils. And so it's all
Look at
comes
Parker
down
go.
to inflammation at the molecular level, Sam. That's what it comes down to. It's the root cause of all of our long-term chronic illness.
Listen, I want to farm. I don't want to be the farmer, but I want to farm. One day.
Okay.
We'll get there.
All right, I got my rapid fire.
All right, I'm ready.
We did bring up Goose, so I got to ask a Goose question. What's your go-to Goose song right now, Jessie? It's one of the new ones?
I would say probably Give It Time. I like that one. Or, yeah, we're going to go with that one.
The new one. I love it. It's a very heartfelt song. I feel like, especially, it came out, 6 months ago now, and they just released it on the album.
And fun fact about that song, I saw it live. Actually, this is probably the reason it's my favorite. I didn't even realize, but when I saw it live, right when that song started playing, they flashed like 2 11-11 jerseys in Madison, or what's that?
Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, Madison Square Garden. And they flashed 2 11-11 jerseys right when that song was playing on the screen. And my sister's birthday was 11-11. And I just viewed it as a sign. And I got like a rush of chills when that happened. And from that point on, that has been my favorite song.
It's going to be hard to top that. Just have to add, if we're talking in number 11, Sam said you're elevator 209. Add that together. 11.
True.
Just like that. Boom.
Look at that.
Crazy. All right. last rapid fire for you, Jessie.
Okay.
As you can see behind Parker, he likes to read. We like to read. Do you have a book recommendation for us?
I feel like I have so many. I'll share the one I'm reading right now because I like it, but it's called It's Not Your Money. And I'm working right now on healing my relationship with money and just feeling more comfortable spending it so then it feels like it can come back to me. And it's a very fascinating read just about healing your previous experiences with money and maybe your parents' relationships with money, how that impacted you. And I've just found it to be really interesting, kind of along the same lines of energy, but just specifically with this like tangible thing that we use as a form of like giving and taking. It's really interesting. So if you're ever curious.
Well, Jessie, we're going to have to talk offline because that is
Okay.
something that resonates very much with me and something I've worked on. And our dear friend Miles Grossman has helped coach me through that immensely.
He's
so we will
coached me
talk.
too on it.
There you go.
actually.
See,
Fun
so he's
fact.
good at it. Shout out
Is he?
Miles.
Is he?
Yeah.
I know
He
Miles
is a
is
good
listening.
coach.
What's up, Miles? Before we move on, I found something really interesting talking about the
Yeah.
spirit of money, giving and taking. There's a stat that came out. It said about 3 in 10 adults under the age of 45 said they donated $0 over the past year, compared with about 2 in 10 adults aged 45 or older. I just thought that was so interesting. I was like,
That is interesting.
are people donating their time more or just not donating anything at all? Just in a unique perspective. Talk about
Yeah.
giving and taking. Another good book, Sam, right? When Jessie's more mature in her business, maybe we'll send her that one. That's a big business read right there.
I'm ready.
All right, Jessie. To round out our podcast, we ask every single elevator what their mental motto is. That is a phrase, a quote, a slogan that they use to be a better leader so that they can elevate their mental fortitude and push through and help themselves and others along the way. So obviously, we're really curious. What's your mental motto?
I touched on it earlier, but mine would be not to take life too seriously. I think it just helps me put into perspective that at the end of the day, there are many things that happen in our lives that are not worth our time and energy. And I think the people around us, the place, just being present with ourselves, I think that's the most important thing. And not to get too stressed out about the little details.
It's a beautiful mental motto. I'll let Parker close us out, but Jessie, it's just been really cool to see you grow up. I feel like such an old fart when I say that. Sorry. It's been cool to watch you grow up and figure out what you want to do, educate yourself, radiate such positivity into the world. I'm so lucky that I've gotten to know you and we get to now welcome you to the nation. So thank you for being here, but I'll let Parker say some final cousinly words.
No,
Thank you.
mean, I think it goes without saying. I mean, Jessie, it's incredible to hear that you're doing really inspiring and meaningful work every single day. And as you're going on this journey, it's just like watching you continue to elevate yourself, but also your commitment to helping others. Even when you're at like your all-time low, you're still saying, hey, how can I help others? It's like, we need more people in the world like you. And I know Rachel and Philip and so many other people are just like shining down on all of us in so many amazing, beautiful ways. And I'm always reminded that we carry those legacies with us. We take the lessons that we learn and we put them in action because they do no wrong in our head. We have to put them into action because they will make a world a better place. And so, Jessie, behalf Sam, Elevation Nation, man, what a conversation. And we're so pumped to welcome you to Elevation Nation. Obviously, it's just the start, and we're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. That was awesome.
All right, Elevation Nation. Until next week. Peace.